morning, everybody. How are we all doing? It is 10:02. Jeez, 1 minute early. Don't say I don't treat you well on Fridays. Look, I know everyone's pissed off after United, let's be honest. Threw that away. Had a little shave. I missed a bit. Anyway, threw that away against Tottenham Hotspur in the second half, right? You see my match reaction last night. We are going to be speaking about it as a community this morning. Going to run through all the talking points, Ten Hag's reaction, the problems that we saw in the game, the question marks around the substitutes, the cameos, the players that came on. We'll speak about that. But the main focus of today is, of course, going to be the takeover. Today is the deadline for the third round of bidding. And in my opinion, this is going to be the final round of bidding. When it came to the second round, we all had that feeling going into it that there was going to be a third round. And this is just based on gut instinct more than anything and just how it's all panned out. I'd be surprised if there was a fourth round of bidding. So today is important. What I'm going to do is run through everything that we know about the Qatari Sheikh Jassim bid and also the Jim Ratcliffe and Ineos bid. What's the current situations with both going into tonight's 10 p.m. deadline? So just under 12 hours until that deadline. It's also Friday, so we're going to bring up the map. I'm going to be giving that away. I've said, geez, that final was in February. I'm not crap at doing giveaways. I'm very good at doing giveaways. It's just sometimes they take a little bit longer. But I'll be doing that a little bit later in the show. That's going to be given away to a member here live and direct. But good morning to everybody. Let me see who's down here in the comments. Andrew Wright, good morning to you from Australia. We've got Mo Salads. We've got Klein. How you doing, buddy? Lee, you're there. Ant, you're there. Carl, we've got William, JVD. How you doing, man? Sam Johnson. We've got Charlie, Teresa. We've got Dylan. We've got William. We've got T. I can see you there as well. We've got Dave, Alex, Matt. Who's on Facebook? Daryl McCormick. We've got John Connolly. We've got Wayne Hogarth. And I'm sure there's lots and lots more. Good morning to everybody. Thank you all for tuning in. Thank you all for tuning in every single morning. I keep saying I love this community. I love this show. I love bringing it to you. And I like discussing it. Makes me feel a little bit better as well. There's so much United stuff that goes on. If I didn't have this show to talk about it with, I don't know who I would. I don't know who I'd speak to. So you're my gang. But let's speak about what I'm going to do first of all is run through the game yesterday. I think that should be the first talking point for the first 5-10 minutes of this show. Then we'll move on to the takeover bid and everything around that. I tell you what, it is very, very quiet down here in the community today. Probably about, I would say, 50%, maybe a little bit, 50% or less watching. It's almost like we had a disappointing result last night. It always happens. You know how there's always something that I hate the word fan channel because I think it has negative connotations. But if you're looking at Arsenal Fan TV and you're looking at how fan channels originated, they thrived off negativity. They thrived off poor results and everyone else coming and laughing at them. It's the complete opposite for United People's TV. If United are doing well, everybody wants to come and join in. I think it's because I've got a bit of a positive outlook in general. So when we do well, everyone's joining in. When we don't do well, no one really joins in. And I tell you what, I blame myself as well, Sam. That was an absolute I think that I really wish I followed my own bets. I called it last night. 2-2. I wouldn't have called that at half time. I tell ye that. That first half against Spurs, we were dominant. It was utter dominance. And then that second half, collapsed. The first thing I would say, right, before we get into the doom and gloom of that second half, it's not doom and gloom in any way, shape, or form. The most important thing, right? Nobody was going to say it. The most important thing was Manchester United not losing last night, right? Because we now still have 2 games in hand on Spurs with a 6-point gap. All right. I'll tell you who I think we should be having a conversation about. And we will be having a conversation about a little bit. Aston Villa. Aston Villa. I'm very glad that we're playing Aston Villa at Old Trafford on Sunday. I tell you that. If we were playing Aston Villa away from home, I would probably put Villa down as favourites. The fact that we're at home, well, we'll speak about that a little bit later in the show. There's a super chat there, and a couple of you are speaking about it in the comments. And it's, I would say that's probably the biggest concern. Is it the biggest concern I've got from this season? I think I might say that. We haven't won away against the top 6 team this season. I'm not going to speak about what happened at Anfield. 6-3 against City, 3-2 against Arsenal. We lost. I think we drew away at Chelsea. Correct me if I'm wrong. And obviously we drew there against Spurs. And then you look at Man United at home, beaten City, beaten Arsenal, beaten Spurs, beaten Liverpool. And if we beat Chelsea when they come in May, we've done the full house. Our home form has been incredible. And our away form has been atrocious by comparison. It's definitely something that's got to be fixed next season. I don't really... It must... For me, it's up there, right? It's up there. It has to be up there. Because you go into that second half. What do you think? What do you think, chat? Same team came out, slightly different performance. The subs came on, and they had an impact on the game. Hoi, they had a horrendous impact on the game. Dave, you sent in a super chat. What are you saying, buddy? After the first half display, it really did feel like a defeat. We were cruising. And I tell you what, I think we all had this exact... let me pull up this photo. I know that I had that exact... I was sitting there like this when Bruno hit the crossbar, like 30 seconds after Spurs got their 1 goal back. The touch underneath, and that would have just absolutely killed the game. But he didn't, and they came back into it. Alex, you're saying it's complacency, same as the last few Thursdays, and obviously let's not forget what happened against Sevilla. We were 2-0 up against Sevilla, and then we conceded 5 goals in a row, and we lost that tie overall 5-2. It's bad, isn't it? Very, very bad. Yeah, look, that's a really good point there. Isn't it weird? Where's that comment there? I want to pull this one up. Michael, it was the complete opposite under Solskjaer. If I remember correctly, under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, we went an entire season undefeated away from home. Good for the away trips. But instead of the Old Trafford atmosphere being something that helped Manchester United players at that time, it was almost something that went the complete opposite. Now, it's the complete full 180. Man United at home are a different beast to Manchester United away. Now, Rich, you're saying down there, the players are tired. Of course they are. We know they are tired. Fitness is an issue. I tell you what, unless your name's Bruno Fernandes, and somehow he plays 90 minutes. But the first thing I would say is it's nowhere near doom or gloom, right? Newcastle, very impressive. Last night, was it 4-1 winners away at Goodison against Everton at Goodison Park? They're looking very, very good for a top 4. If we win our game in hand, we're still a point ahead of them. There are teams. Which team? We'll say it down in the comments, right? Which team would you be more... Which team do you think, we should be worried about them in the top 4? Because in my opinion, it's not Spurs. It's not Spurs. We've got 2 games ahead of them, two games on them, and 6 points already. Win those 2 games in hand, it's 12 points, and then there's 5 games left. It's not happening. I mean, of course, we then have to beat Brighton away and Chelsea at home. But which one are you most worried about? Out of probably Villa, Brighton, or Liverpool? I would say they're the 3 that could cause issues. You let me know what you think in the comments. I think I might have missed some gifted memberships. Oh, man. Max, how you doing, buddy? Happy Friday to you, my friend. Let's slap the gong. Yeah, boy. My man. Thank you very much, man. What a hero. Let me see what you're saying in the comments about who you think is the most dangerous. And nobody is saying Spurs. Spurs are crap. And that's what makes that second half even more annoying. They were there for the pumping. Should have been pumped. Should have absolutely been pumped. Cheyenne, you're saying Liverpool. Gary, you're saying Villa. Steve, you're saying Liverpool. So Sean, quite a few. If I'm looking down here, the overwhelming majority of you are saying Liverpool. But it's between Liverpool and Villa. But of course, Brighton have got 1 game in hand on us. They're 11 points behind us with a game in hand. Yeah. I mean, look, Brighton just lost to Nottingham Forest. I hope that we can go and do that. But their spark has faded somewhat. I'd say Liverpool are going to go on a bit of a charge. It's either Liverpool or Villa for me. I don't particularly think that I'm not worried about Spurs. I'm not worried about Spurs. And that's why that game last night was important not to lose, right? Had we lost that game last night, you would have given Spurs a bit of hope. we would have been on 59. They would have been on 56. We would have had 2 games in hand, but it would have only been a 3-point difference. 6 points with 2 games in hand, fine. It's not an issue. And that's why that Villa game now is huge. Villa is going to be in the same category as Spurs. Don't lose it. Do not lose that game. And because we're at home, you've got to have confidence, don't you? Jibak, you're saying confused why Casemiro looks so out of gas in the second half. He's had enough rest, looked rusty in previous games, but yesterday felt like he was out of steam. Dude, in that second half, I'll say it here, right? There were big question marks around Erik ten Hag and around these substitutions. And I want to speak about this. We've got like 5 more minutes and then we'll head into the main part of the show talking about the deadline and all the news around that. There's absolutely no doubt that the subs had, I would say, a negative impact on that game. I would also say I understand exactly why Ten Hag made subs. Bear in mind, this is a team that has been playing every 3 days, all season long, and a team that just played 120 minutes against Brighton in the FA Cup semi at Wembley on Sunday. I understand why subs were made. However, and this is what Ten Hag said about his subs, by the way. He goes, when you see the first half, I don't think we played that brilliant. Oh, okay. I would slightly disagree. I would say that Spurs, look, we've seen this all season, right? When teams don't press Manchester United, it's great to watch us. Forest away. Sevilla at home in the first half. Who were the other 2 as well? There was 2 more games around that time. Was it Everton and Brentford? I think. I might be correct. None of them pressed up against United. We had good performances. Away at Sevilla, we got pressed. We absolutely crapped our little pants. Spurs didn't press us at all. And when you give a team that's got Bruno Fernandes and Eriksen in so much time and space on the ball, great to watch. Luke Shaw running out from the back. How good is he at centre back? First half, I would disagree with Ten Hag there. I think we played very well, but Spurs allowed it. And when he's saying about the subs, saying, look, I brought Fred on because he can win the ball. Martial, who can keep the ball. Then you've got Rashford, Anthony, and Bruno making runs in behind. For me, the biggest issue revolved around 2 players. There's a couple of super chats here. Let me read these out before we move on. But I want to speak about Fred and Casemiro in particular from that performance yesterday. And Bully, look, you're saying, morning time, buddy. What's your thoughts on Casemiro last night? It's like he doesn't want to make a tackle. Anyone thinks because he thinks he'll get yellow, did not show up last night. Love this community. Love you too, Bully. I can't let me pull up a photo of Casemiro, right? Let's have a little conversation about him because I think this is it's not a head scratching thing. It's just I think everyone's got a bit of concern of what we've seen these last few weeks, right? Because it hasn't been that Casemiro. I think that's a pretty let's not get that up. Let's get that one up. Right. Here's the man himself. Casemiro. I have to admit in these last few games, same at Wembley, probably same away at Sevilla. What do you think it is? Fire it in the comments and I'll pull some up on screen. Since he came back from his suspension, Casemiro has been a couple of yards short in every regard. Tackles, interceptions, passing range, threat. Just everything has been turned down a couple of notches. I don't really know exactly what it is. Because yesterday, in that game, in that second half, Man United were 2-0 up against Spurs, away from home. The only thing we got to do now is control the football game. So I'm looking at Casemiro, Eriksen, and I'm looking at Bruno in the middle, just not letting Spurs run at us direct. They're always going to have space in the wings because they're playing with a fullback system. You're never really going to be able to stop that space. You might not be able to stop the crosses going in, but Casemiro and Eriksen, they should have controlled the middle. And then Eriksen went off, of course, for Fred. Is that Casemiro? That's Fred there, and that's Casemiro there. I want to know what you think about Casemiro. There's a super chat there from Alex as well. Let me read this out. How you doing, buddy? He's saying, last night felt like this squad has gone as far as Ten Hag can take it without large changes in midfield and up front. I struggle to see how Ten Hag instills his philosophy so we can play that way for a full game. And it's something that I said. That's a good super chat there. Alex, and it's something that I said in my match reaction. So, again, I'm going to ask for comments. I'm going to read some of your comments out about Casemiro first. I want some more of your comments here. Type it in. What games under Ten Hag have we controlled for the full 90 minutes? Spurs at home is one that always jumps to mind straight away. But you really can count it on one hand. Was it Forest away? I would probably say we controlled that as well. Very few games. It's kind of when we only really control at 45 minutes, whether it's the first half or the second half. Ricky, maybe Casemiro's lost interest due to the poor refereeing and scared to play his game. I think what worked for him in La Liga doesn't work quite as well in the Premier League. I think he gets yellows quicker in the Premier League, and I think he's kind of adjusting to that. And he's like, "Oh, fuck, got to play a little bit different." Do you see the red cut? His red cuff putting his hands on Will Hughes' throat, and then Jack Grealish did the exact same thing in the Arsenal game, and absolutely nothing happened. I don't think that was a red card. Simon, you're thinking it's a little bit of fatigue. Must be the physicality of the league and the refs. He's been tamed to the point of ineffectiveness. That's a well-worded sentence there from Sigmund. Lacks confidence in tackling. I'm not quite sure what it is, I'll be honest, with Casemiro and where this... It seems like a little bit of a spark's gone. That's what I would say. And you know what I've said all along? And I'll reiterate this exact sentence. Manchester United's season, our crescendo, the peak of it, was Newcastle in the League Cup. I knew it going into it. I said it before it, and we've seen it after. That was the peak of our season, and we've been unable to get over the excitement of it, the victory and the dip that comes after, and it's like, still got football to play. And we've never been able to fully re-find ourselves on that way back up. But we still, as I said, still favourites for the top four. It's not all doom and gloom here. I will speak about Fred next. I think I missed a couple of... Yeah, man. Hey, I have Ned. The only other Ned I know is Ned Flanders. Ned Lowe, how you doing, buddy? Thank you so much. Bully, you gifted 5 memberships as well. And Brett as well. Legends. I can't wait to give away the... Heroes, all of you. And Klein, you sent in a member chat. I'm actually sitting here. Was a lot of people not wanting to commit tackles because of the ref. Hey, look, I've seen people questioning the substitution of Wan-Bissaka. I think you need to go back and look at Wan-Bissaka's performance. He was good, yes, but Wan-Bissaka... There's a couple of videos that are going around, which I spotted it in real time as well. Just slow to go to his man. But then Malacia did it. He didn't exactly. Malacia is a bit of a weird one. I'm not really sure where I sit on Malacia. It's been so often this season where he's impressed me. And then yesterday, quite a few times this season, I'll be like, what are you doing, man? JVD, you're saying, I saw an after a game comment from Ten Hag saying he doesn't accept players playing 90%. I think it's a mentality thing rather than Ten Hag. It's definitely a mentality thing. I know it is. That I don't think is the question. But yesterday, this is what I said, right? Oh, that's not what I said. That's what Eric Ten Hag said. This is what I said. After that game, in my opinion, I'm looking at Fred and I'm looking at Casemiro as the 2 problem points for how that game got away from us. Fred was brought on in the 61st minute, was it? Let's bring up the subs, right? He was brought in the 61st minute for Eriksen, and we lost control at that point. We lost control. I've always maintained about Fred. Fred is arguably one of the best in the world when you play him in a certain position, in a certain type of team, in a certain style. If you play him as the most advanced of the midfield trio and you allow him to aggressively press from the front and everybody comes with him, he's one of the best at it. Spurs at home is the blueprint for, I think, how Ten Hag wants his team to play. And Fred was a centerpiece of that. However, if you play Fred in a midfield 2 and you expect him to control the game, Fred will not do that properly. Cedric down there saying Sabitzer would have been a better option. Maybe. But again, Sabitzer I would put kind of in the Fred category. Better at aggressively pressing from the front rather than controlling in the middle. truth be told, looking at this bench here, right? Who are you bringing on there to control a game? Martial, what's he going to do when he comes on? He might be able to hold the ball up. He doesn't control the middle. Defender. Sabitzer, you could argue, would have been a better option than Fred. And maybe that's Captain Hindsight speaking. But both of them, they're not really controlling tempo maintaining midfielders. And Fred certainly isn't. Veghorst, no. Pelistri, no. Butland, Williams, Elanga. Nobody there. Ten Hag, the problem wasn't Ten Hag making substitutions, all right? You got to make subs in a game. It's what football is. You got a squad. You have to trust the squad. The problem was how crap those subs were when they came on. And the problem for us is that, first of all, Casemiro is shady right now. Casemiro is just, he's not controlling much or anything. And a bigger problem than that is that if you take him out, you've got absolutely sweet FA. If Scott McTominay was fit, Scott McTominay probably comes on there yesterday and not Fred. And we might have seen that game out. But this is where the squad is needed. And yesterday, for me, that was the biggest example of it. Malacia, when he came on, he made some errors. That second goal was so crap to concede. De Gea kicked it long because we weren't showing any options there. We weren't playing out. Well, we haven't been playing out since Sevilla, really, have we? Played it sometimes short, but mainly long. One header goes straight back through to Kane, crosses it. Spurs score. Carl Perkins, you're down there slagging off Scott, saying Scott is shite. Hey, look, I'm not saying that Scott is incredible, but I do think he would have been a far better substitution to bring on in that scenario than Fred. We don't have anybody. Oh, you could say we do have someone. I've seen quite a few people arguing about Kobbie Mainoo, saying, well, surely that's where you have him on the bench. And I think there's a fair argument for that. It will be a hell of a situation to throw him into. And I'm always a bit skeptical about that, about the right times and the wrong times to use academy players. And it is such a hard thing to correctly say, in my opinion. Do you think in that situation, do you think it would have been a right managerial call from Erik Ten Hag yesterday for Kobbie Mainoo to be in that squad and for him to come on in the 60th minute instead of Fred? If that had happened, do you think he would have been lambasted for that, or he would have been hailed for that? Let me know what you think in the comments there. It's an interesting one. Dave, you're saying, I can't remember Fred completing a telling pass when he came on. He gave the ball away most times. He didn't, man. Yeah. He did give the ball away. I don't remember him really passing to a teammate. And that's what I mean. The lack of control was the reason we lost that game. And that stems from the lack of quality. It's almost like Ten Hag's only had one season and only had one transfer window. Buddy, want to give Luke Shaw a big up, Sam. He was unreal last night, out of position, and still plays better than Harry Maguire. Most improved player this year. Woo! I mean, Marcus Rashford's 29 goals might disagree with you. But Luke Shaw, I was going to speak about him a little bit later in the show. Dude was fantastic. What's that? City at home, Barca away, and Spurs away now. 3 games where you go, wow. Luke Shaw, man. Really, really good. I'm going to go back and see what you're thinking about Kobbie Mainoo down here. Jonathan, you're saying no. At 2-0, no. At 3-0, yes. And you're saying absolutely not. You'd be throwing him to the Wolves. That's what I mean. That's what I mean about whether it was. We just need to see this season. That's all I want now. See this season out. Grind it. Grind out a win against Villa on Saturday. Grind out a win against Brighton. And I'll be happy with top 5. I mean, easier said than done, right? But that's what the end of the season is now. It feels like we just need to grind the results out. And as I said, one sec. Let me make sure I didn't miss any super chats or anything up here. Jibak, you're saying we need press-resistant midfielders. Jeez. Watching United play up against the press is pretty painful, I would say. It really is painful. I hate watching United when we play up against a team that presses against us. Bebo, you're saying we need a new CDM like Guido Rodriguez or Sangare, a new centre-back like Kim Min-nae or Yuri and Timber. Sangare, Ibrahim Sangare from PSV, right? Big old powerhouse. And Yuri and Timber, I do think Timber would be a good signing because obviously he would slot in at right back as well. But yeah, going back to that, when Bruno hit the bar, I was like, no. How good was Bruno yesterday? It is filthy how good that man is. It's not fair. So outrageously good at football. And he recovered, protective boot. Doesn't mean anything. Might be injured. No chance. Played the full 90, man. Sancho yesterday as well. Where's that photo? Boom. That photo there. Cracking. First half, all three of them. That goal from Sancho, by the way. Ball was played to him. One touch on the inside. What a finish. Paula, I missed a super chat from Bully. I've just gone back up there. I literally just read a super chat from Bully out. You're talking about this one here. I've just had a conversation about that. I think. Unless there's another one. If there is another one, it's not on my screen. How good were those three in the first half? How good were United in that first half? As I said, it was kind of because Spurs were laying off us and it was allowing us to play forward, but we took advantage of it. And that's what made that second half so disappointing. But I'm not going to get done in the doom and the gloom because we're still in the top four. We're still 6 points ahead of Spurs. This game against Villa on Sunday, though, that's a big game. Big game. And I will speak about that in a little bit. But let's get into the main part of the show. One more thing, actually, before we get into the main part of the show, is yesterday, had the interview with the 1958, released it on YouTube and also released it as a podcast. So you can listen to it however you want to. Nice 35, 40-minute chat with the lads about the takeover, about their... I think I really enjoyed the chat because I was able to probably ask them a couple of questions that not made them feel awkward, or I'm not trying to dig them out. But I think when it comes to interviews, like, it's always easy to interview a person and ask them the questions they want to hear. I asked them a couple of things that saying, like, for example, some people like, well, why aren't you boycotting the whole stadium? The Glazers are just going to do what they want anyway. So what's the point in the 1958? It was good to speak to them about those sorts of topics. And yeah, I think you'll enjoy it. That's, of course, ahead of the Villa protest on Sunday. If you can and you go into the game, go to the Nag's Head in Manchester. Google it. It's a pub in Manchester. Go there. The protest will be starting there from 12 p.m. and there will be a march to Old Trafford, stopping at the toll gate, another pub, and then stopping outside Must on St. Busby Way before we get to Old Trafford, before there's an 18-minute boycott. If you can be involved in it, please be involved in it. But if you want to, listen to the interview. I enjoyed it. I think as you as a community enjoyed it as well. So thank you very much. I like doing more stuff like that. And I think, yeah, it's a testament to it's a real testament to United People's TV and sort of how we operate, that the 1958 were happy to do the first podcast with me, and also first interview for YouTube too. It's a testament to that we're doing things right. It's a big up to all of you. The community makes it what it is. Now, let's speak about the main part of the show. We're 25 minutes there with a reaction to yesterday. But today is the deadline for the third round of bids. Now, the first point that quite a few people might say, be like, oh, Sam, what's the point? There's only going to be a fourth round of it. Come back when it's like the seventh round of bidding. My reaction to that would be, I don't think that's going to be the case. I believe this is going to be the last final round of bidding. Everything points towards there being a conclusion next week. The BBC here reporting that it is understood large amounts of paperwork have needed to be completed to get to the latest stage, leading all parties to believe the situation will be resolved before the transfer window. Now, of course, that's something that we all want. And in terms of what reports are saying, let's pull this one up. Bidders for Manchester United expect the deadline to be a hard deadline, and as I said, on final offers, with the Glazers deciding who they will go with, if any at all. The big question going into the last day is what any Qatari bid will look like. Will it blow everyone out of the water? Many involved figures did sense a shift in tone. The process went from a situation where it was seen as an inevitability that Qatar would win, and of course, all the stuff that's broken this week around Jim Ratcliffe and the Glazers. What I'm going to do now is run through both of them. I'm going to speak about the updates and everything we know about Sheikh Jassim, and then the updates and everything we know about Jim Ratcliffe, and then we'll speak about it as a community. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. I can see. I always sort of judge by what's going on, by what's being said in the chat. So I do actually have a look at you. We've got Kumaran. How you doing, man? Wow. Kumaran, that is cool as hell. Kumaran there is just joined as a member and then gifted 5 memberships. That gets a loud one. What a ledge. What a compliment to the channel, man. Big up to you. Let's run through this. Okay? Where do I want to start? I'll tell you where I want to start. And this is really important. Tifo released a cracking video this morning. If you haven't watched it, it's about what Manchester United are actually worth. Now, I'll drop the link down here to that because I don't want them thinking I'm nicking their content, because I'm not. I'm just putting up some key points here because this has always been the stickler, right? There are different ways to value a football club, right? Well, lots of different ways. And we don't need to run through this whole thing. You can go and watch the video yourself, right? Let me pull this up here. But if you use the revenue multiplier, which is quite a typical way to value a business, and you look at what Chelsea were worth, their revenue was 480 billion. They were sold for 2.5. There you go. 5.2 times is what the revenue multiplier was to find the value. So applying that same logic to Manchester United, times our revenues by 5.2, you get a value of 3 billion. 3 billion. Not 6 billion. Not literally double that. So that shows you how quite frankly, ludicrous the Glazers' valuation of Manchester United is, because it uses a revenue multiplier that is double what the Chelsea one was. That's the reason why this has taken so long. Okay? The Glazers want an outrageous amount of money, and it's just not realistic. But when it comes to Sheikh Jassim, this is what the latest we're hearing. This is an update that came last night, actually, just before the game. From Tom Morgan, James Ducker and Sam Wallace, all from the Telegraph, saying that the UK government will not step in the way and stand in the way of any Qatari takeover of Manchester United. And that's being considered as a boost to the Qatari bid. Now, we don't know how big any fucking bid has been. Sorry to swear, but we don't. It's all been speculation. The actual the accuracy of those numbers has just been, it's not been there. It's all been kind of speculation. We don't know who put in the bigger bid in the first round, the second round. We don't know whether the Qataris are just going to come in and slap 6 bill on the table. I don't think they will. But the government will not step in the way and block any moves. So the only thing that could stop it at that point, hypothetical here, of course, but if they were chosen, if Sheikh Jassim was chosen as a preferred bidder, then he would need to pass the Premier League fit and owners test. And remember that there's new stringency to that after Newcastle. Of course, there's new stringency when Manchester United come in. Man, it is. I tell you what, there is some Friday vibes going down here in the comments, man. Tom and Jay, both legends, both gifting 5 memberships as well. Bang, bang, bang. You do make me look like idiots with this gong. I think that's the only reason you give memberships, is to make me, which is fair enough. I'll probably do the same if I was you. Legends, though. Absolute legends. But yeah, the government won't stand in the way of it. Now, this was an interesting update. This came from Bloomberg originally, and it was reported from Matt Lawton from the Times. And I would say this is interesting because if Manchester United are telling the bidders, we need to see the source of your funding. Now, if you're looking at round 1, for the bidders to go in at round 1, they would have had to show proof of funding. Okay, you want to bid how much? 5 bill. All right. Show me your bank account. Show me you've got 5 bill. So otherwise, I could go in and say, yeah, I want to buy United for 5 billion. Can't prove you I've got 5 billion, but I want to buy it for 5 billion. So that was stage 1. If that's now, it would seem strange. I don't know the ins and outs of these sorts of deals. It would seem strange if up until this point, there was no clarification on source of funding. But what I would say is that if they are asking now, and they haven't asked so far, and they're asking now, I would say that's a good thing, because that would lean more towards the fact that the Glazers are really genuinely considering selling. So they have to know that source of funding, because I believe, I might be wrong when saying this, I believe when it comes to the New York Stock Exchange and the Security Commission, SEC in USA, I imagine if the Glazers, because obviously news of this will affect the share price. So there's certain rules and regulations they're going to get held to. So if the Qatari bid is the preferred bidder, the Glazers are going to have to tell the market the Qataris are the preferred bidder, and here is the source of their funding. So this, for me, is a good thing. Fred, you're saying peanuts to me. Man, we're going to need a lot more gifted memberships for us to go and buy a football club, I'll tell you that. Rotham, man. Everyone's got that Friday vibes. We got the giveaway coming soon as well, by the way. Hopefully, one of you legends wins it. I need to get rid of this gong. Why did I start this gong? Sometimes I have bad ideas. Paul, you're saying, agreed, Sam, they wouldn't care if they were taking a minority interest from an equity firm. I'm not here to sort of say it's definitely going to happen, but if they're asking for the source of funding, take that as a good bit of news, because it shows you the willingness is there for that full sale. All right. That's what I would say. Now, this man, Jim Ratcliffe, has, I think this week's not been. That's why I really wanted to have that interview with the 1958 yesterday, to speak to them about this concept, right? And there's a really important video that I want to pull up now. Big up to David Ornstein, big up to Five. I think it was Joe Tomlinson who was conducting the interview. This is a clip that was going around yesterday, and this is around the shares. Now, you know full well Manchester United has a dual share structure. Class A, they're the ones you can buy on the New York Stock Exchange. Class B, they're the ones that the Glazers own. This is what David Ornstein has said about the share structure yesterday, saying that I've been saying the whole time.
One of the options being explored by Ineos, led by Sir Jim Ratcliffe, is to partner up with the Glazers and take a controlling stake of more than 50%. A really important point for us to make in this is that when Manchester United were floated by the Glazers on the New York Stock Exchange, they inserted a clause, a mechanism that stated that the most important and powerful shares, which are called Class B shares, can only be owned by the family themselves. Those Class B shares have 10 times more voting rights than the other shares, which are called Class A shares. And if any of the Class B shares are sold by the family to non-family members, such as Sheikh Jassim, Jim Ratcliffe, US investment vehicles, then they will convert into Class A shares with 10 times less voting rights. So there's every chance that members of the Glazer family will sell to Sir Jim Ratcliffe or whoever else. That will take that person over 50% to become the majority shareholder, but not of the most powerful shares.
Right. This, for me, has always been one of the big problems with the concept of a minority investment. Now, Alex, you've sent a super chat there as well. You said, look, what happens to Joel and Avram? They're Class B shares if Jim Ratcliffe buys the four siblings out but only has Class A shares. This is the thing. I don't believe that the current dual share structure can exist if this happens. I think it has to get scrapped, because as David Ornstein has said there, and I remember I've read these rules before, but he's just reconfirmed it yesterday. The Glazers put a clause in that says only we can own Class B shares. That's their power grip on the club. And they created that structure and made Man United public so they can get more money. And they've made an absolute ton from share sales over the years. But the only way that this logically, the only way this could work, given the current share structure, is if it gets ripped up. And that would take the power away from the Glazers completely. Of course, they would take the power away if the four siblings sell. But this is my point. The only way this works is if that whole share structure is ripped up. And that's beyond complicated. That adds so many more layers and depth and just complications to this whole thing. And that's kind of what I've been saying this whole way through. And the fact that David Ornstein did that video yesterday, I'm glad he did that video yesterday because it really sort of helped to articulate the point that I've been making this whole time about the complications of a minority investment. You are not going to get someone who's going to give you billions for zero power. There's not going to be anybody who's mad. And that is why the Glazers were not able. The reason that the Glazers were not able to buy out their siblings last summer when they went to, I think it was Apollo Investment, was because of this dual share structure. They went to Apollo hypothetically and said, look, all right, if you buy out our 4 siblings, it'll cost you, I don't know, I can't remember off the top of my head, 1.5 billion. And then they'll be like, okay, what percentage of voting right power does that give us at Manchester United? Oh, you'll only get like 3% voting. I don't know the numbers and how they correlate up here, but you won't get any voting rights. You just have to give us $1.5 billion and then just trust us. Just trust that we'll make the decisions. And then they were like, no, see ya. And that's why they weren't able to get investment, because of this dual share structure. It is the core of why they've not been able to find that investment. And why I don't think any minority investment will make sense unless they scrap that structure. If they scrap it for this Jim Ratcliffe conversation, then maybe it could happen. But if they didn't, I do not think it can. There we go. Let's go down here. Hydra, this is the point I'm trying to make, and this is the point I've always made about minority investment and why I've always felt it's just been used as a scare tactic. Because when you stand back and you really look at the evidence and everything in front of you, you really start to understand that the Glazers themselves, their greed for power and control has effectively made it impossible for them to secure a minority investment. Now, this Jim Ratcliffe situation is a little bit different, okay? The idea of buying all the others out. And then, is it? Actually, no, it's not. It's the exact same. I think this, and you know what? I take great pleasure in that concept, but I can't take any great pleasure until it actually happens. I'm going to put a poll up now for the last 10, 15 minutes of this show and think about it, right? What do you think? I say there's 3 outcomes from this. What do you think will happen? Right? It's either Sheikh Jassim, preferred bidder, either Ineos, preferred bidder. Actually, there's 4 options. Another minority investment, or Glazers cancel everything, right? I would say they are the 4 logical options we've got left, okay? Because I don't think we're going to another round of bidding. I might be spectacularly wrong, and hey, it won't be the first time in my life or the first time in this channel that I'll be wrong. I don't think there's going to be a 4th round of bidding. So I think it's one of those 4 choices. I apologize to you, Ben, on Facebook, because you can't see it. I can only do polls on Facebook at the moment. That's why, again, I want to go to this new software. I can hopefully do a poll that can engage both communities. That's what I want to do. I apologize for that. But you answer that. And then, yeah, I'll come back to it a little bit later in the show. Deadline's 10 p.m. tonight. I think we're going to hear next week what happens with the future of our football club. Next week is going to really be I can't sort of understate it. I don't know the right way to describe it. The next week is going to be one of the most important weeks in the modern history of our football. In fact, just the history of our football club. That's how big it's going to be when we hear the decision from the Glazers. And I will be here to cover all of it. All of it. Right. Quickly, before we move on to that, I want to do this. Okay. I've been saying for weeks now, I'm going to give away that scarf, and I am going to give it away to a member. So what Dan has done, big up to Dan for helping with this. We've gone to the Telegram channel for all the members. So you don't get entered into this if you're just a member on this channel. You have to come in, and it's only active members inside that Telegram, members only chat. Whittled it down to 500 here, and I'm going to do a draw. And I'm only going to be announcing this on this live show. So if whoever wins this doesn't get in contact with me by Monday, I'm doing a redraw. And I'm going to do this every single day next week until somebody slides into my DMs on Twitter or Instagram and claims it. It's only going to be announced on here. And that way I know it goes to a member who actually joins in and watches the show. So good luck to you. And let's spin that wheel. Look at that. One roll, please. Hopefully it's somebody who's here on the channel now. That was a bit awkward. Boop. Connor Cassidy. Connor, are you here? Connor, if you're here, right, congratulations to you, sir. You've won it. And you have until Monday to slide into my DMs. I'm not going to announce this anywhere else. So if you're not watching, you're not winning. Slide into my DMs on Twitter or Instagram, claim the prize, and I'll get this posted out to you. If nobody does, I'm redrawing on Monday, and I'm going to do that every single week until someone wins it. All right? Big up to you. What a community. That's a cool little giveaway. Then remember, that's the actual scarf from Wembley, from the Newcastle League Cup final. All right? It's a big up. Let me see what else you're saying down here. What were you saying about Ratcliffe? If Ratcliffe doesn't have the money, why is he not pulling out? Because he's playing smart. If Ratcliffe doesn't have the money, this is the power play of all power plays. Really, really is. I didn't miss any gifted memberships, did I? I think I might have missed one up here. Back when I was just getting excited there. Alex, I ran through you. Ian, I did. I thought I did. Ian, man, you legend. How you doing, man? Who are the lucky five? Godwell, Dale, Dean, Rolex, and Andrew. You're the lucky five, man. Ian. Get a little tickle. Just pulled a weird face there. Shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have done that. Big up to you. Let me see what we're saying down here. That's a cool giveaway, isn't it? Of course, this is the last weekend as well. I'm going to put this out on all the socials. If you haven't bought the raffle, £1 to buy a raffle ticket to win an Xbox Series X. Last month, it was a PS5. This month is an Xbox Series X. Next month, it's a good one. It's a good one, trust me. It's my way of just, again, I like doing stuff like this. It's wicked. It's wicked. Stephen reacts. You better not screenshot the screens. If you screenshot that face, questions. Right, let me see what the poll is saying. 400 votes, right? And what you think will happen. I don't know whether all of you have actually put what you wanted to happen or what you think will happen, but 85% of you have said Sheikh Jassim going through as the preferred bidder. As I said, I don't know whether that's you putting down what you actually want to see happen rather than what you think will happen, but 85% is a monstrously one-sided poll there. Jeez. There's a question there. Scott, can people outside of the UK join the giveaways yet? Yeah, people outside the UK have always been able to do the giveaways. I just couldn't do it. What was it that I could do UK only? That was the tickets. I think the tickets are the only non-UK. I think that's the only one I've had to restrict to the UK. Jonathan Bell is the next month's prize. Is it Gungshi's secret card? It might be. Gungshi, you're giving away your secret card next week. Oh man, look at that. Asking ye shall receive. Gungshi. He delivers. He's like the Bruno Fernandes of this community, isn't he? What an absolute ledge. How you doing, man? Bang that gong. Hell yeah, for Gongshi. I mean, it got named after him. So, how you doing, man? Nice to see you. Now, I'll tell you what. Last couple of minutes of the show, as always, it's Friday. You know what Friday is. You need to let me know what town and what country you're watching from, and I'll add you onto the map. We've got 426 points on this map now. You can see how everyone around the world watches United People's TV. It's awesome. We've got Aberystwyth. We've got Tehran. We've got Michigan. We've got Algina, Atigi. In Greece, we've got Malaysia, USA, Bulgaria, Pakistan, Uganda, Australia, USA, Mauritius, Norway, Suriname, Kazakhstan, Saudi, Ireland. Jeez, it's awesome, man. All around the world. Let me see where you're all watching from. Let's see if we can get some new ones on it. Ronald, that looks pretty cool. Is that a place? Well, I'm guessing it is where you live. Chaguanas. Chaguanas? Chaguanas. I'm going to go for Chaguanas in Trinidad. I'm coming to visit you, my friend. Jeez. That'll be awesome. Always wanted to go that part. Kelechi, you watching from Ontario in Canada. I think Canada. I'm trying to think of where I'd travel next. If I was going to travel somewhere next, I'd probably go either Canada or Mexico. I think that will be my two choices. Personally. I'm sure there's loads more great places in the world to travel. I think I'll go for one of those two next. Let's get one more on the map. Let's see what we've got. Wow. Svinur. I think we might already have the Faroe Island on here. Do we? Can't remember where the Faroe Island is. Is that down there? Right. I've got to get you on there. Faroe Island. Runavik. Oh, look at that. We've got someone from the Faroe Islands. Man, United is worldwide, isn't it? United is worldwide. Let's get one more on. I'm feeling in a good mood. Feeling in a good mood today. Let's get one more on here. Anthony watching from Eccles. Christ watching from Dudley. Both of those two are on the map. Don't worry about that. We've got Teklam watching from Ubelingen in Germany. Gotta love Germany, man. Great beer. Great sausage. Great football. Great place. Love Berlin. Love Munich. I think I prefer Berlin. Oh, love that map. Love that map. Yeah, Jordan, no one's watching from the moon. It's unfair, really. Should be someone somewhere. But look, today is the day, right? I won't be live later on. I might be here tomorrow with a video. Probably hungover if I am. It's Friday. Come on, you're allowed a night off. Because of this will not. I can't agree with this. Now, I know that there are concerns that all of us should have and questions that we should all have about any potential takeover. And I've already scrutinized and I will continue to do so. However, the concept that someone might get into bed with the Glazers is the only way that they can get in to buy Manchester United. No, fuck that. That doesn't have Manchester United's best interests at heart. It's a smart business play, but I don't like it. I think the Qatari bid seems on paper what is best for the club, but then there's so many questions to still ask around it. Alex, you're saying, Sam, will you go live when they announce the preferred bidder? Hell yeah. I don't think that's going to be tonight. That better not be tonight because I'm going to be steaming later on. It's Friday. I'm allowed a night off, right? I won't be going live when the bids go in because the bids are going in. We know that Jim Ratcliffe's coming in with a bid. We know that Sheikh Jassim's going to come with another bid. If anything crazy breaks and crazy happens, well, I might have to jump in the car and come home and then go live whilst absolutely off my face. That would be bad news. But look, everybody, thank you all for tuning in every single Monday to Friday here at 10 a.m. I love this community. I love chatting with you. We've got a big weekend. Today at lunchtime today, instead of focusing on, I don't really think there's anything I could do a video on from that game yesterday that would help us, would sort of, I don't know. There's nothing. I don't think we learned anything new yesterday. It was just the same old problems that we've seen on various different occasions this season. So I'm going to do my Villa starting 11. That'll be going out today at lunchtime. Move straight on. Get straight into that Villa game. What will we change? We've got to look at how good Villa are playing. I'll be covering that. So tomorrow is left free for anything to do with the bids. That's why I'm putting my video out today. But love you all. Thank you to every single one of you. Gungshi, you came back there. We've got Ian, you gifted 5. So many of you gifted memberships. What a wonderful, wonderful community. Love you all. Have a cracking weekend. I'll be here on Sunday after the game. I'll be covering the protest. Going to hopefully be doing a fantastic video on the protest. I'm really working hard with a few people to get that done properly. You know that they're always... In fact, should we finish? No, let's not finish with one. Just much love to everyone. Have a cracking weekend. I tell you what, it is Friday, so...
We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway. We're gonna do it anyway.
Yes, Barry. Sam, you shouldn't drink tonight.
We're gonna do it anyway.
Honestly, you should come back and do a live show. You should probably just take it easy.
We're gonna do it anyway.
You're damn right we're going to do it anyway. Look, have a cracking weekend, everyone. I'll speak to you soon.